Today's discussion will be presented in 3 sections since we are recording it for a radio broadcast on Federal News Radio 1500 AM. You're welcome to post questions and comments during the session, and we'll try to answer them online. I'd like to introduce our moderator, Jason Miller, Executive Editor at Federal News Radio 1500 AM and federalnewsradio.com.
Welcome to our discussion. My guests today are Scott Bean, the Assistant Director of the IT Infrastructure Division at the FBI, Vicki Hildebrand, the Chief Information Officer at the Transportation Department, Gene Edwards, the Executive Director of Federal Sales for Civilian Strategic Programs at Dell EMC, and Troy Massey, the Director of Enterprise Engagements for Iron Bow Technologies. Welcome to the program. Let me set some context for our discussion before we get started. Since the initial Cloud First policy in 2011, the understanding and acceptance of moving applications and services to the cloud have really been picking up steam over the last few years. Today, I think we all can agree that this approach of shared infrastructure is more cost-effective, provides much needed agility and flexibility, and is really changing the way agencies work. Cloud is transforming the workplace by letting us view the concept of work in a much different manner. The tools have become smaller, think smartphones and tablets. Software is running our lives. Some estimate that by 2020, 25% of all software will be in the cloud as a service. We also know that cloud doesn't mean the same for everyone. Some believe cloud means on-premise shared infrastructure. For others, it means all or mostly off-premise public or commercial cloud. But for most, cloud means some kind of combination of both. In fact, GSA says in its 2017 Hybrid Cloud Computing Almanac that a recent Gartner survey of federal IT managers found 75% indicated plans to implement a hybrid cloud solution by the end of 2017. Additionally, the use of cloud is only expected to grow. IDC Government Insights projects the cloud market in the federal sector will increase to $9 billion by 2017. Here we are in 2018. I'm sure all of those figures are only going up. And like with any new technology, agencies are also finding challenges with hybrid cloud. These include the lack of resources and expertise, but that's actually good news because both of those challenges top security as the #1 barrier to moving to the cloud. This is again according to GSA's Cloud Almanac report. GSA says agencies also should consider several factors as they implement hybrid cloud, including integration of different clouds using APIs, cloud management, and orchestration frameworks, and of course the organizational impact of hybrid cloud, which is another way of saying, do we have the right people, the right resources, because hybrid cloud is not your typical IT project. So with that context in place, let's turn to our panel. Since we're starting with cloud, we talked about hybrid cloud. Let's just jump in there. Let me turn to Scott to start us off. Let's talk about the FBI's cloud strategy. I know you guys are really jumping into the cloud. There's a couple of really interesting procurement type of documents you guys have put out. We don't want to necessarily touch the sensitivity of that, but give us the broad view that you guys are moving down.
Certainly. So we are looking at cloud first as an opportunity to use both on-prem cloud solutions and commercial cloud solutions, and really we're looking across all 3 enclaves that we operate in. So we operate in the unclassified environment, secret environment, and top secret environment. We've been working in cloud in unclass and top secret for a while, and really now that we're getting commercial solutions online for secret cloud, we're looking at more opportunity to engage in the secret cloud. It's a little bit complicated for us because our billing model is a little different than maybe a corporate entity may be used to, in that we've basically provided a free service in terms of infrastructure to our application owners. So they're used to consuming as much as they want, and really all they have to do is complain about what they're getting for free. But now that we're looking at cloud, that's turning that billing model on its head, and really we're having to look at charging people back or showing back what we're doing for them in on-premise infrastructure so we can help them make a good business decision about, should I stay on-prem, should I be on the cloud? And then there's also security implications about, should I be on-prem or should I be in the cloud? But what we are recognizing is there's enormous capability out there and opportunity for us that we need to tap into, and then understanding how we can balance cost, because cloud is great, but it's not always cheaper. And helping our customers understand that and guide them through the path of how to land their workloads or how to orchestrate movement of workloads between solutions is a key part for us.
I want to go back to one thing. It's interesting you talk about 3 enclaves. When you talked about what's already in the cloud, I expected you to say unclassified and secret, but not top secret. But then you guys at the FBI seem to skip secret in terms of the cloud. help me understand, is the top secret, generally speaking, a government-only Justice Department slash government-only cloud?
So yeah, the top secret part of this is sponsored by other agencies that we take advantage of. And then similarly, as we go into secret cloud, there is one vendor that is already delivering a secret cloud solution, commercial cloud solution. And then there is another vendor that's in process of developing. And that's something we have to pay attention to as well, is making sure we don't get into vendor lock-in anywhere, whether it's on hardware, whether it's in the cloud, that we're guarding against being locked into any one particular vendor.
Absolutely, and I think that's a big concern across the board. You see Vicki shaking her head. But before we jump with Vicki, let me talk to Gene a little bit about, from Dell EMC, your perspective. When you talk to agencies, what are you seeing in the federal market around the cloud strategy? Hybrid is still, as I said in my opening, very, very popular.
So I think the government at large needs to protect possibly some of the shared services environments. They're on-prem environments that they already have, but they recognize and have to embrace multi-cloud. So as a manufacturer, we're designing technology around that infrastructure that fits into the business models that work for the customer. We're trying to work with partners and the end user customers to make sure that whatever we provide, that it leads with maybe more of a software defined. Because if you lead with software defined, then you neutralize the technology that's underneath of it and allow the mobility of delivering the cloud services and the cloud catalog services that are required. So I would say, on average, the government has truly embraced cloud. I think they have embraced public as well as on-prem, but now they're focusing on more multi-cloud management and shared services across those.
And let me just put a finer point on this. When you talk about the software-defined piece, because so much of the network now, so much of what agencies are potentially doing or could be doing is going to be pushed from the software side, meaning not the hardware side. What you guys are trying to do is ensure that no matter what cloud you're in, this piece of software can run in that environment.
That's correct.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of times it's all about the application and the workload.
Right.
And government shouldn't have to be locked into one particular cloud opportunity. So having the framework to move those applications around for cloud efficiency is really important to us. And that's where we're making investments to help them do that.
Kind of goes back to what Scott was saying about the vendor lock-in.
Correct.
I will be careful of that. Vicki, you're new to DOT in some ways,
Yes.
but you bring obviously experience from if you forgive me, private sector.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about transportation as you walked. I know Richard McKinney, the former DOT CIO, was a big fan of cloud. So talk about what your cloud strategy is.
So Richard did a great job because he was one of the first to put our email into the cloud. So the DOT was ahead of several other agencies in that regard. There was a period of time where we stalled a little bit, but we are going hard and fast right now on cloud, and it is about multi-cloud strategies, multi-vendor strategies, because I have to say, coming in from the private sector, the costs that I'm looking at are significantly higher than what I would have expected to see. So we are going to put our cloud providers in a competitive situation. I'm going to have multi-vendors, multi-clouds. A couple of things that I think are important that we're focusing on are the tooling that's in the cloud. We have to take advantage of the tooling that's there around security and reliability. And then the other thing that we're really focusing on is capacity, because what happens in the cloud is that people tend to push a lot of things to the cloud, but they don't get that capacity back when they stop using whatever it is they've put in the cloud. And it's a way to keep costs down and, frankly, do a better job with hygiene. So we're focusing on those things.
It's interesting you talk about capacity, because what tended to happen in the old way of before the cloud or whatever, when you had stuff on-prem, you would just add another server, and then what we got to, as we see today, is that the servers have optimization of 18% or 28%. I think there's an average, I think across the government, of something like 24% at one point. So that's the capacity issue. Make sure that you just don't spin up a cloud and then, okay, we're done with it for today or this month or this 6 months, and it stays spun up.
Absolutely. Consumption is really important, and measuring consumption and getting that capacity back helps keep your costs under control. And frankly, it's one of the big benefits of the cloud, is you have the ability to do that.
You also mentioned the fact that you were surprised by the cost higher. Were you talking about the cost for cloud or the cost within your internal, like the baseline? Then when you look at how much are we paying per seat for email, I know you've moved to the cloud, but the vendor costs.
Vendor costs, yes. One of the things that seems to have happened in the government is, I think partly because it's difficult to procure from the government, we tend to lock ourselves into relationships, and I think it's important to have competitive relationships. So we actually will have 3 different vendor cloud environments, and we will use them as the partnership is going well.
Very cool. I think the competitive cloud piece is a very interesting concept, and I think other agencies could learn from you. I'm not going to mention who they are. Troy, jump in and kind of finish off this first round of questioning around what you're seeing, what Ironbow sees in terms of from your federal customers.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, some great topics already have come up, and it's cool to hear hybrid cloud versus on-prem cloud, off-prem cloud, public, private, everything's some kind of cloud. What is a cloud? And I love that t-shirt that says a cloud is just somebody else's server, right? So with that in spirit in mind, Gene and Vicki had mentioned some drivers, and that's a key point when we talk about cloud. We mentioned utilization, right? So on-prem servers are twiddling their thumbs, so the next step was virtualization, virtualizing all those servers so that they could take more use of those resources. And then the next step is to put that total resource into the cloud. The cool thing about that is some of the drivers. Again, we talk about cost, and total cost of ownership is really hard to measure out when we go to the cloud. We need to look at stuff in a more long term. So it's not just what did that server, what did that app cost me, what did that administrator cost me, what did that power and cooling cost me. All of that is now in the cloud, along with the capacity, the compute. So it's a lot longer range of a total cost of ownership to try to measure the cost savings.
And that actually is a great segue to kind of the next topic, because part of the decision making that goes into this is the data center consolidation piece, is that if you can get out of your data centers and move those workloads to the cloud. Are you seeing that this move to hybrid is coinciding with this reduction in data center? I was just looking at the IT dashboard, and there's obviously still the wave of people doing better than others.
Absolutely. You know, the government has been mandated to look cloud first at any new solution. So the on-prem or the hybrid cloud is that step they're taking. It has to do a lot with the data center and the data center refreshes. Why do a tech refresh on something if you're going to look cloud first? Then the cost starts to change the model. There's also the drivers behind the desktop portion. So Win 10 is making everybody go upgrade their desktops, and that's having everybody start to look at desktop virtualization, which is the next step into the cloud again.
I want to talk a little bit more about the data center consolidation. Now, Scott, I know from talking with Joe Klimovich, the Justice Department CIO, he's been a very big proponent not just of shared services, but of shared infrastructure. Yes. Has that kind of filtered down to the FBI in terms of your data center setup and how you guys are moving?
Absolutely. We're actually working very closely with Joe and the rest of the department and the components on the data center consolidation initiative in building out a new data center in Pocatello, Idaho, and then expanding what we have going on in Clarksburg, while simultaneously shutting down a commercial data center that we've been in for a number of years, just because it's not cost effective for us to stay there anymore. But what we're doing is although the Bureau is building out these CEFs for the department, we're going to continue to run them as FBI data centers, but the department is welcome there, as well as all the component agencies. So we're helping them shrink their footprint while we're establishing basically a new type of infrastructure, especially in Pocatello. What we're building out there in coordination with some great vendor partners is a cloud on-premise solution that is very stable and secure, but very much mimics what's available in our cloud provider solutions. And what that's doing is getting our application owners used to containerizing their apps and making them run reliably, building the network hooks in, building the security stack in, making as much of it software defined as we can. And then as we're making things available to the department and components, opening that capability up to them where they can modernize their applications, get off of old infrastructure, and be on something that's new and reliable that we can then focus on refresh down the line. But the other thing we're looking to do is push more and more things off of that infrastructure into cloud, but also enable DevOps environments where possible in the cloud.
Sounds to me a very similar approach that you guys are taking to what the Defense Department has taken with MilCloud. When I just did a recent interview with the folks at DISA, and one of the things they talked about was sometimes this is moving to MilCloud 2.0 is that first step towards commercial cloud, and then from there, then they can move to a wholly commercial cloud if they want to, if that makes sense. Sounds like you're the crawl, walk, run version. This is the crawl part to get them to cloud.
To some degree, that's true, although we're also still encouraging our application owners, if they're ready to make the move to cloud, and if we have a cloud environment that's ready to receive that workload, make the leap. Don't take that middle step unless you have to. If you need some time to get your engineering right, or if we can help you with the security piece of it, then move to our on-prem solution until you're ready, and then we'll put you into a cloud solution. Ultimately, what we want to be able to do is orchestrate workload between multiple commercial cloud providers and our on-prem, so we can figure out what's the most efficient place to run any workload and move it as we need to. That's going to take time for us to get there, but that's the ultimate goal where we want to be.
And we're just going to take a quick break, but before I do that, how many of your mission owners are ready to jump into a government-only cloud or a commercial cloud versus going to, let me stick with the FBI people first because I trust them.
I would love to say it's a very high percentage of our application owners that are ready to make that move, but because we have engineered applications on infrastructure that was bespoke to that, and sometimes over-provisioned, sometimes under-provisioned, not everybody's able to make that move. So it's a smaller percentage than we would like, but it's enough to make a significant impact on our organization.
But that first step is so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to ask the same question to Vicki about your data center consolidation efforts. You're listening to the panel discussion, Transforming the Government Workplace Through Cloud, sponsored by Ironbow and Dell EMC on federalnewsradio.com and 1500 AM.